This is a Ramping Up Your English book review. Reading a book about an instructional theme can make English more comprehensible. Seeing a movie based on that book can do even more to develop tools for English proficiency. If you want to have fun doing this, and I suggest making English learning as fun as possible, read Polar Express, written and illustrated by Chris Van Allsburg. This Caldecott Award winner takes readers on a wild fantasy train ride to the North Pole using much of the lore of American railroads. The story begins in Grand Rapids, Michigan in the 1950s. The plot begins when a boy awakes on Christmas Eve to see a train called the Polar Express. The conductor invites him aboard and the adventure begins. I suggest reading the book first. It has beautiful illustrations that will provide many context clues for the readers. Then rent the movie to see how the story is treated and, of course, to see the awesome special effects. A fun way of supporting your English acquisition is to read Polar Express. At the least, it'll be a fun experience, and you'll think of it every time you drink hot chocolate. For Ramping Up Your English, I'm John Letts.
Welcome back to Ramping Up Your English, an educational program for intermediate level English learners who want to elevate their level of English proficiency. We take a thematic approach to making the learning as stress-free and as fun as possible. This is segment 3 of episode 23. In our last episode, we explored a bit of Washington, D.C. and saw a presidential motorcade. We reveled in the cherry blossoms from the Potomac River and toured the Capitol, finally boarding the Westbound Cardinal at Washington's expansive Union Station. Today we continue that journey, heading into the mountains of West Virginia.
Our trip to Washington aboard Amtrak's Cardinal was timed with the Cherry Blossom Festival. The late winter snowstorm that preceded us delayed the blossoms. A year later, our timing was perfect. And so was the way of enjoying the cherry blossoms. Because of the Potomac River, Washington, D.C. can be enjoyed by boat. From Alexandria, Virginia, you can board a water taxi for a great view of the city. Or, if you're very fortunate, you can enjoy a river cruise on this paddle wheel boat. We were celebrating my nephew's wedding. The boat was chartered by one of my new in-laws.
Refurbished.
There's news that's going down too on this cherry blossom paddle wheel boat.
Cruising toward the city, right where the river channel splits into two, we saw this Navy base. It's a research center, apparently the home of numerous cherry trees. Washington's Cherry Blossom Festival stems from the gift of cherry trees to the United States from Japan. That gift was made in 1912 by the people of Japan, and the first two were planted by First Lady Helen Herron Taft. The general public gets to enjoy all this color throughout the Washington, D.C. area, especially in the tidal basin, where the trees are numerous. Turning from nautical to terrestrial, this is Washington's Union Station. This is where we'd board Amtrak's Cardinal to begin our westward journey home. Out in front is a statue of Christopher Columbus. The Cardinal was waiting for us here, having started its journey in New York City that morning. Here in Washington, it's exchanged its electric locomotive for a diesel electric, the one that will take us to Chicago via the scenic route. Once we were aboard, the Cardinal wasted no time in pulling out of the station.
We are pulling out of Washington, D.C. Union Station, heading toward Chicago. They're pulling out.
I heard you, I heard the tape. Oh, there you go now, there's DC.
Yeah, we're out of the tunnel now. So this is just Washington with lots and lots. These are apartment buildings. Some of them is probably office building. Not everything's monumental here.
There's a colon.
Leaving Washington, D.C., and seeing all these office buildings, I reflected on the thousands of organizations that have offices here in the country's capital.
Really?
It's not surprising that my union, the National Education Association, has a presence here, but it seems that every trade association, some you would never think of, to social clubs, all have a presence here in Washington. And then there are the sprawling offices of the various government agencies. When people talk about big government, I can understand some of what they mean. Still, it seems to me that any discussion about reducing the size of the government should begin with listing the things our government does well, like supporting national parks, protecting the environment, and supporting Amtrak.
Welcome back to Ramping Up Your English. Our goal is to help you elevate your level of English proficiency in a way that causes the least amount of stress. Our approach is to make English language learning interesting and fun by using a thematic approach. Our first theme is trains and railroads. You can see the interview we did today on my website. That's letscreate.org. Go to the episode 23 page. There you'll also see today's program and the video clips we used. You can also see today's show and even download the program at archive.org/details/Rogue TV. You can see this series on Channel 15 in Ashland and Channel 182 on Charter Cable in other parts of Southern Oregon. I want to thank my volunteer crew, my announcers Bob Ayers, the staff and partners of RVTV, and I want to thank you, our viewers. See you next time on Ramping Up Your English. I'm John Letts.
You've been watching Ramping Up Your English, a support program for intermediate level English language learners. Learn more. Visit our website at letscreate.org. You can also watch or download today's program at archive.org/details/Rogue TV. Join us next time on RVTV Voices for Ramping Up Your English.